You remember that while the anti-white left was in charge of the country for 4 years, they began white erasing, among many other things, the names of bases so that these bases could be renamed in honor of non-whites, even non-white people that had never done anything interesting. Just any non-whites. And the Trump administration and Trump repeatedly said, oh, we're going to change all them names back. He got in office and he was like, Gulf of America, right? Then he got up the other day and on the news he said, and Fort Lee is going to be named Fort Lee again. And everybody said, yes, fantastic. Trump's really punching back. This is the cultural victory. Of course, here we're saying, well, in another 4 years, the anti-whites will just change it back. They'll just change it back to the two black people, the do-nothing blacks that they had renamed Fort Lee for. Gets worse. Trump was double dealing us. It's going to be named Fort Lee, but not Robert E. Lee, not General Robert E. Lee. No, it's going to be named after Private Fitz Lee. And there he is. And if you have a hard time seeing that, yeah, he's black. When the U.S. Army announced on June 10 that it was changing the names of 7 bases back to their earlier designations, it skipped over one major milestone. Fort Lee in Virginia will now be the first base to be named after a Buffalo soldier. Remember, they were black. The bases reverted back to their names, which had previously honored Confederate leaders, although with one new non-Confederate namesake. This is the biggest insult imaginable. So right in the midst of being emasculated by anti-whites and compelling us to fight for another people's interests and another people's well-being and another people's enrichment, back here at home, we are stabbed in the back by the Trump administration. Cute little joke. They're counting on the dumbass white population hearing Fort Lee and thinking it's General Robert E. Lee, while at the same time turning toward the anti-white population, specifically the black population, and saying, don't worry, wink, wink. This is one of your guys. Fitz Lee, a private Fitz Lee, a Buffalo soldier. Fitz Lee fought in the Spanish-American War and earned the Medal of Honor as a private for his action in Cuba. Now, I wonder if it's kind of like today, where they hand out medals of honor for nothing. They hand out diplomas and degrees for nothing. And you know the answer is yes. I mean, why did the American government bother to put this Buffalo soldier phenomenon together? Well, it was to provide the structure behind the lines. You can go ahead and look up Buffalo soldiers and what they did primarily. It was for all the background stuff so that they could put more soldiers, more white guys out on the front lines, more soldiers to combat, fewer white guys having to be concerned with delivering mail, making food, cleaning up, janitorial services, etc. Buffalo soldiers, here we come. Now, some Buffalo soldiers and different regiments end up in some conflict. And so, hey, what's a better way? I mean, I wasn't at this incident where he earned the Medal of Honor. So maybe it's all perfectly legitimate, or maybe the standards were a little lower for the Medal of Honor for him. But what a better way to get more black people to join the military than to send home and to celebrate The white race has done this a lot, by the way, with non-white people. This decorated veteran, this private, honoring him with the Medal of Honor. He was in the Spanish-American War, earned the Medal of Honor for his actions in Cuba when he helped to rescue some trapped soldiers. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like Audie Murphy against the Germans. Doesn't sound like Audie Murphy. Doesn't sound like Sergeant York. How many Germans did Sergeant York capture from the best of the best on planet Earth? The soldiers of Germany, some of the best on planet Earth. How many did York capture? By himself to get the Medal of Honor. But this guy participated in the rescue of a couple of soldiers. So he got a Medal of Honor. Let's see. It says here, 4 regiments of the black soldiers, the Buffalo Soldiers, were formed by the United States government after the War for Southern Independence. And they were put out on the western frontier. This goes into a historian talking. You can research it all on your own about the Buffalo Soldiers. So this fort in Virginia, Robert E. Lee's home, where Robert E. Lee was offered command of the entire United States Army. And he said no. The only thing that the Confederate States of America was offering was not command of the entire, nowhere close to being in charge of the entire Confederate States of America military. But the American government said, you can have command of you are such an epic individual. You can have command of the entire United States military. And he said, no, I cannot wage war against my fair Virginia. That's how much of a superhero, an honorable guy, Robert E. Lee was. And meanwhile, across Virginia, at the state and federal level, they're taking his name off of everything. A state he loved more than everything else on planet Earth. Choosing what potentially was certain death in fighting a defensive war against the industrialized, invading United States with, 5-6 times the population? Not a chance. And he chose that side. There can be no more of a romantic, heroic Westman than Robert E. Lee. And so now the anti-whites get in charge during Biden, and they're like, we're just going to white erase flick it right off the name of this base, and then they replaced it with 2 also ran black people that did nothing at all. I read the thing. I couldn't find anything notable that the 2 black people that ended up having their names on the base had done. They were just black, from what I could tell, and in the military. So meanwhile, the Republicans step up and they're like, don't worry, we're going to restore that base to the name Lee, to the white population. Over here to the black population, the anti-white blacks, because I'm sure there are black people who were like in the South, especially, who love Robert E. Lee, and they would be pissed. But they said to the anti-white blacks, don't worry, we mean Private Fitz Lee. Jokes on them dumb white asses over there. Absolutely despicable beyond imagination. So you had the anti-whites on the left. The anti-whites on the left, white erased. This beautiful soul that I have read has is studied in, and probably not anymore because of the white erasure, or not soon, but that is studied in military academies all over Western civilization. This guy. And they're like, anti-whites on the right, they're like, nah, he's not, his name's not going back on that fort in Virginia, the land he loved more than anything on planet Earth. No, it's this black dude who helped with rescue a couple of prisoners. Great.